guys, welcome back to Medical Coding with Blue. Today's episode is all about the medical coding credentials explained. If you're brand new to my channel, welcome. I am Blue, I'm a medical coder. Okay guys, so I got a comment and this comment inspired today's episode. So I'm going to read the comment and we'll get into it. So here we go. All right, so the viewer says, hi Blue, is the Ccs-P, the Certified Coding Specialist Physician-Based, better than the regular CCS, the Certified Coding Specialist certification? So here we go. There are two major medical coding associations. There is the American Health Information Management Association and the American Academy of Professional Coders. These two are the major medical coding associations that the industry is looking for their coders to be certified through. So if you are sitting with one of these, you're already on the right path. Now, I will say this. There is not one credential that is better than the other. Yes, I do say that the CCS is the gold standard of medical coding credentials. But what I mean when I say that is that this credential says that you have mastered medical coding, inpatient and outpatient, that you know everything, that you can be plopped in to a hospital, you could be plopped into a clinic, and your proficiency on taking this test says that you know how to code for either one, and you know the rules of coding for CPT and ICD-10 PCS. It is the gold standard because a lot of employers are looking for this particular one. Now, you have to know this about this exam. It is the mastery. Therefore, it is advanced. This is the most advanced medical coding certification of all medical coding certifications. The ones that specialize in medical coding, okay? One of the four. There is the CCS, the gold standard of medical coding credentials. The Cpc-A, the Certified Coding Associate. This is the entry-level certification. There's a Ccs-P, the Certified Coding Specialist Physician-Based. This is the mastery of the outpatient setting only. And then there's AAPC's Cpc certification. This is their flagship credential. This is the credential that says that you know outpatient coding, okay? So if you get any one of these four, then you are good to go. All you need is one. Now, keep in mind, health information and medical coding is a business. It is a business that makes a lot of money. And how do they make a lot of money? By continuing to grow the field. And how do they grow the field? Okay, well, let's give some other options for some different certifications to hold, okay? But we'll get into that in a minute. But I want to say this. If you are starting out, you can start with any one of these four. Me personally, I had the CCA, the Certified Coding Associate, for 13 years. I stubbornly held on to that CCA because there's a lot of ignorant people in this industry who talk a lot of trash about people who have the CCA. Now, the CCA just says you have the entry-level competence to code for inpatient or outpatient. So if you are just starting your journey and you want to be able to have that option to be able to apply anywhere, and you're not just going to be limited to just outpatient positions, you'll also have the option of applying for inpatient positions as well, because the CCA, the Certified Coding Associate, says that you have that entry-level competence. And yes, there are employers who do look for it, because if you look in the job listings, they are out there. The problem is a lot of times people are looking under the wrong name, and medical coders run under a lot of different names. So if you're not looking under the right job title, then you will not be able to see it. Okay, so, but I will tell you that I stubbornly held on to the CCA because I was determined to change hearts and minds, which I did, which is why I kept it for so long. Now, having a certain credential does not make you less than anybody else. It goes on the knowledge of the coder. Having the credential just says that you know, what do you know? So if you are wanting to stick with the outpatient side, you can choose from the Ccs-P, right? The Certified Coding Specialist Physician-Based, or you can go with AAPC, their CPC credential. Okay, either one of these. But what I will say about that though is the Ccs-P does not have an apprentice status attached to it, ever. So if when you go and you decide to take the Ccs-P and you say, okay, I'm going to take this one, and then you walk out of Pearson VUE and you passed it, you are immediately a Ccs-P. Now, if you are with AAPC and you take their test and you take their Cpc, if you have no prior medical coding experience in the industry or anything like that, you will start out with a Cpc-A. Now, the Cpc-A, the Certified Professional Coder Apprentice, this is a 2-year requirement to have the apprentice status on that credential. And this just says that you are a brand new coder with no experience. So you need to work for 2 years in order to remove that apprentice status. How do you accelerate that process if you don't want to wait 2 years? Well, AAPC, because it is a business, says, okay, well, if you go through one of our approved programs and you complete Practicode within the year, right? Practicode is an educational product that they have real-world redacted medical records that you code from. It is not multiple choice. It is just an educational product to get you that feel. It is not work experience. It is not an internship. So if you are looking at that because people are saying, oh yeah, put that as your work experience. It is considered 1 year, what 1 year of work experience would look like for a brand new medical coder according to AAPC. But it does not mean that you have 1 year of work experience. Okay, so with that said, you can accelerate the process of the apprentice being on your name less than 2 years, because if you're taking an approved program through AAPC and you complete Practicode, you will wipe out that apprentice status and you will be a full-fledged CPC. You have to contact them about that. But the thing is, even if you have a full-fledged CPC and you just took your exam and you completed Practicode and you're good to go, it still means you have no experience. So even though removing the apprentice status was accelerated, it doesn't mean that it's going to make it any faster for you to get a job, especially if your resume is not up to par. I talk about the resumes all the time on my channel. I'm not going to go into it too much on this episode because, guys, I have the tip videos about resume tips. Resumes is what's going to get you in front of the people that are hiring. If your resume is not good, you will not get a call. And that's what happens to a lot of brand new people, is that they don't know how to transfer over their skills so that it is what medical coding managers are looking for. Okay, so there's a lot of things that go into that. But this episode is about the credentials. All you need to pick is one. There is no regular CCS, okay? Now, CCS, again, says you know how to code both inpatient and outpatient. The Ccs-P, the Certified Coding Specialist Physician Base, just says that you know how to code outpatient. That just says you know how to code for E&M and CPT and all of that good stuff on the outpatient side, okay? So if you are just now starting your program and you're trying to decide which association to go with, just keep in mind that AAPC does require you to be a member every single year that you have your credential. It does not matter if you have not gotten a job yet. If you do not pay your membership dues, they were just $200 presently. In 2023, this is $205 every single year. If you do not pay that, they will revoke your credential. AHIMA does not require that, though. AHIMA does not require you to be a member, but they will charge you separately for reporting your CEUs, and that's just their administrative fee. So it's a trade-off. There's always going to be a trade-off, but it really all depends on which credential you get. If you get any one of these four, and please hear me when I say this, you just need one, any one of these four, the CCS, the CCA, the Ccs-P, or the CPC, you get any one of those four and you can apply for jobs and you can get out there and start your medical coding career, okay? There is not one that is better than the other. Even though I say, yes, the CCS is the gold standard only because it is the mastery, but it is the coder that makes the coder. So you can have a great credential like the CCS and not understand what you're doing. You're just really good at passing tests, right? Because when you get out in the real world and you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't study, I forgot, and I did this and I didn't do that, and there's all these things. But it is the individual that makes the coder, okay? Because if people had just looked at me at face value for having the CCA and just dismissed me, which there was some ignorant people that tried to, but no, we're not going to do that. And I proved those people wrong. I proved that I could do all of these things, and I ran circles around people who have degree designations and higher credentials than I had at the time. So again, it goes on the individual. You can be the best coder even with a CPC. You could be the worst coder with a CPC. You could be the best coder with the CCS. You could be the worst coder with a CCS. It all depends on the individual. And I cannot stress that enough. It is the individual and their efforts to learn more and their efforts to study and continue to study and learn all these things, because the studying does not stop. If you are in school and you think, oh yes, as soon as I get done with my test, I'm not going to have to study anymore. You won't have to study as intensely, but you will have to study so that you understand what you're doing. And so that's the thing, guys. This industry is always changing. Health information is always changing all the time. These guidelines get updated every year. The code set gets updated every year. And if you've been to any of the webinars, you know how many updates the coding ICD-10 CM came out with, okay? And those codes go live October 1, so that's the thing. Whenever you're thinking about all of those things, just know that this is a constant evolving industry. And that's where you have to be ready for those changes. Not because you say, well, I have a CPC, so that makes me better. It doesn't, guys. Your knowledge is what is going to advance you, not having the attitude of, oh, I have this credential, or I have that credential, or I have a plethora of credentials, so I must know what I'm doing. No. If I'm a hiring manager and I see somebody who has a Cpc-A, and then I see them have a CPB and CPMA, I'm going to ask them, what are you going to do with that CPMA? And the 10 out of 10 times that I've ever asked this question to people who have that, or who tell me that they're going to sit for the CPMA, I don't know. Somebody told them to get it, or they were thinking that they needed it, or somebody said that they had to have it, but they have no idea what to do with it. If you don't know what to do with these additional credentials, don't get them. And don't be pressured to have to buy everything that's being put in front of you. If you don't want to go through Practicode because you hear this or that, don't go through Practicode. But if you want to go through it, okay? It is your choice. But at the same time, just know this, that if you're getting that practice, that's great. But for a lot of people that are complaining lately, I get the emails, guys. I get the emails. I don't know why I get the emails, but I do. I get the ones from people saying that, well, it wasn't right what they coded through Practicode, and they have this and they have that. Guys, that is AAPC's thing. If you have any issues with that, you have to let them know. Hey, you might want to look at this, or you might want to look at that. But they are very clear on their website that Practicode is an educational thing that you are going to be going through on your own. This is not a teaching product, okay? It's just meant to give you practice, okay? And that's what they do there, okay? So that's what you got to know for that one. But you guys really need to stop looking at the credentials like, if I get this one, you just need only the one. And then you need to work on yourself. I have said it before that if you start in your first 2 years to just have one credential, just have the one credential, because that's all you need to be able to get in. If you look at the job listings, it says very clearly that the candidate must be credentialed through AHIMA or AAPC. They must have this credential, that credential, that credential, that credential, or that credential. So it's giving you a choice. And never once have I seen that the employer is saying candidate must have multiple credentials in order to get this job. And at that, if they're saying, well, then you need to have multiple credentials, I would really wonder about the people that are running that organization, because you don't need to have those. All 4 of these exams, they all test on medical law and ethics and HIPAA and they all test on reimbursement. They all test on diagnosis coding. They all test on procedure coding. So it's not necessary to have to tack on all of these extra things and make yourself, as a brand new coder, spend more money. Take the time in the first 2 years to have one certification. Doesn't matter what anybody says. I don't care. I don't care what other people say or what people in Facebook say or this group I heard it at say. I had one credential for 13 years as a CCA. I ran circles around nurses, around degree holders. I outpaced salary-wise people who had advanced degrees and nurses and all of those things. So it is possible. And how did I get there? By having knowledge, by having my aha moment where it finally clicked and I'm like, oh, now I get it. I have to really work on myself professionally. I've got to be able to learn how to teach. I've got to be able to learn how to lead a room. I've got to be able to learn these things, because that's what's going to help me share my knowledge about medical coding. Because not everybody around me is required to be a coder, like my surgeons or like my PAs. They are not required to be coders. I'm the coder. So it is my responsibility to be able to share with them information to help them and to support them so that the patients end up with the best documentation possible. That is my goal. And that is my mission, is that these patients are having really good documentation to take with them anywhere that they need to go. And that it's not going to be a mystery when they go to a different place and be seen by another physician or another surgeon or another PA or NP for that matter. And it's not going to be a mystery what happened to them. Okay, because that's my job. And I love what I do. Clearly, I love what I do. It makes me happy. It makes me happy when I talk about it and you see me and I giggle and I laugh, because it's my heart filled with joy, because this is what I do. And yes, I do have a life outside of coding. For those of you who want to get smart, I do. But this is my channel. This is Medical Coding with Bleu. This is what I'm talking about here, because this is what this channel is all about. This isn't Blue's daily life. But, so that's the thing, guys. That's what you have to know, is that all you have to do is pick one, and you just need only one. Now, AHIMA has those 3 that you can pick from. Now, if you want to go that advanced route and go for the CCS, just know that you have to study the ICD-10-CM, of course, the CPT, and ICD-10-PCS. And ICD-10-PCS, you got to be able to build those codes. You have to be able to know present on admission. You have to understand what that is. You have to understand about DRGs and things like that. You have to understand, of course, about the sequencing, any of those tests. But for that CCS, that's a 4-hour exam where you are pedal to the metal. It is roughly 2 minutes per question. And if you are depending on that CCS exam prep book from AHIMA, you're setting yourself up to fail, because those questions are not on the test. And I have to say this because sadly, there are people that think that these are the questions that are going to be in the test, and then they are very disappointed and they get mad and they send me emails complaining. Email the people who wrote the book. I didn't write it. I didn't write it, and I never recommend that AHIMA CCS prep book, okay, guys? Because I have said there's better ways to study, and I've given y'all those books, okay? That's my independent study video that's in the description box that has all the books that I recommend to be able to go through. Because if you're working through those workbooks, you won't need the exam prep guides, because those are giving you exactly the practice that you need to be. It's just as rigorous, and you need to be going through those and practicing with the book. And not tabbing, not writing, not highlighting. People get upset about that, and that's okay. You're going to get upset about that? Well, there's a lot of other things that's going to make you upset on this channel. But if you are taking the time to practice with your book, you're not going to need tabs writing, highlighting, circling. You're not going to need any of those things because it's going to be like second nature to you. And this is an open book test. So you should be knowing those books forward and backwards. Okay. But yeah, 4 hours for that exam for the CCS. But if you can pass that, that's wonderful. You're on your way to, again, the world is your oyster. The CCA, the same way. It's a little shorter though. It's 2 hours. It's a 2-hour test. But again, it still packs a punch. And that one has the most specific domains of all the medical coding certifications. Okay, of any of the 4, the CCA has the most domains. All right. And so again, it's 2 hours for that exam. And again, it's covering ICD-10-CM, CPT, and ICD-10-PCS. So again, those you have to know for the CCA. Now for the Ccs-P, you have to know ICD-10-CM, CPT, and HCPCS. That's what's the thing for the Ccs-P. It's the same thing for the CPC. You have to know ICD-10-CM, CPT, and HCPCS. Okay, so those are the things that you have to know about those tests. And it's, again, the more that you practice, the more that you study, and the more that you do your research on these associations, because people will ask me that other question too of, well, which association is better? Guys, that's a personal choice on your end. I mean, it's whatever you want to do, but don't let people fool you into thinking, oh, AAPC tests are easier. That is not true. I've had plenty of people write in and tell me how many times they've failed a CPC exam. So don't ever let anybody fool you into thinking that the AAPC exams are easier than the AHIMA exams, okay? I just want to make that very clear. All of them are all difficult exams. And if you don't study, it's going to show. If you don't study the 20 hours a week like I recommend you all to do, and it doesn't matter if you work a 40-hour-a-week job, there's plenty of people who work more than that, and they still manage to squirrel in those 20 hours. And they still manage to do all the studying like I recommended. And for so many of them, they write me and tell me, Blue, I passed my test today, and it was because of your help. I can lead you to the water, but I can't make you drink. I can't make you drink, guys. All I can do is give my advice as somebody who really loves what I do and somebody who has done the research and knows and all of those things, guys. I just want you all to know that the thing that I will say to close this up is the 4 exams do not require you to go through a formal program. So you can study on your own. So even if your program is preparing you for the CPC and you say, well, I don't really want to sit for that one. I want to go for the CCS-P. If the CPC is not part of your package and you have to pay for it separately and you have the choice of which certification you want to go for, then if you want to go with the CCS-P, by all means, go right ahead. So just so you guys know that, that's the thing about this industry. You can learn independently because that's what they do expect from us, is to be able to know how to do our research and know how to use these books very proficiently. That is what it's going to require. So that's just what I'm going to say today, because I've been over these credentials many times. I've compared the credentials to each other, but I have always said that it is up to you guys, whichever one you want to start with. There's no gatekeeping as far as like, well, I only support this association or I only support that association. I support coders. Bottom line, I support coders, and I support things that are useful and helpful to them. So if you want to be with AAPC, by all means, I'm still going to encourage you anyway. If you want to go with AHIMA, I'm still going to encourage you anyway, because I encourage adults. I encourage adults that are going back to school after many, many years, or adults that are getting back into school after retiring and now they want to do something for themselves. So they pick the flashy world of coding. I support you guys, all right? I support those who have a great support system around them. I support those who don't have such a great support system around them. Because again, we are adults that are choosing to go back to school to get into a industry that is very tough. You can't have a weak stomach to get into this. Weak stomach meaning in a figurative sense, not literal, but just a figurative sense. You can't have a weak stomach to get into this industry because it does take you to be tough. But if you rise to the challenge, you can meet this challenge, guys, and it will change you. It's given me so much, and I am very thankful for what it has given me and what it continues to give me as my channel grows, you know. So I will be live on Friday, Friday the 22nd. I will be live doing a live show celebrating 30,000 organic subscribers who have subscribed to my channel. 30,000 that I did not have to pay not one red cent for. And I am so proud. And thank you all so much for your support. All right, so with that said, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this one up. But thank you guys so much for joining me. If this video helped you, please like, subscribe, and share. And I'll see y'all next time. Bye.